I've trained clients to IFBB and Natural Pro Cards, to national and world records in powerlifting, as well as professional Olympic and CrossFit Games athletes. In today's video, I want to go over the proper technique for cable kickbacks. This is an exercise I most often use as females, however I will use this for men in certain situations. This exercise is great for growing the lower bottom corner of the glute if done correctly. So that's what I want to go over in today's video. What I have on my ankle, which is the leg that I'll be showing the exercise with, is a wrist cuff. So you can see it's a nice, just a, I don't know, basic wrist cuff. I got it off Amazon for like 20 bucks. I use these for cable ladder raises, reverse flies, some other exercises. But it's just a basic thing. You don't need anything fancy. So what I'll do is I will set one on each ankle, and then I just kind of go back and forth in the exercise. Sometimes I'll do rest pause sets all on one leg and then burn out the other leg. Sometimes I'll go back and forth. With the technique, what we want to do is put the cable all the way down to the bottom. I'm then going to hook up the leg that I want to work, and I then use the column of the cable stack as my balance assistance. And I will step back then for about a full arm's length, and you can see that I'm leaning forward a little bit. This is going to increase the range of motion that I have for the movement. If I were to stand straight up, even if I weren't using this and I was just standing straight up like this, it's hard to balance, and then the range of motion is really short. So we can use this to balance. I want to push my hips back. I don't want to have my hips tucked under where my lower back is rounded. And also, I don't want to overextend and overarch to where my butt's sticking up in the air and my lower back is scooped. I would like to remain neutral. So if I was standing and talking to somebody, I'm going to maintain that same neutral hip position and just tilt. Then I'm keeping that nice and neutral through the lower spine. I'm going to use this as my balance point. I then want to have a slight bend in my knee. And I'm going to allow now the weight to pull that foot forward by shifting over into my other leg. So I'm shifting my whole body slightly over so I can center my balance on that down leg. Then what it does, it allows me to let this leg come forward. I then use my other hand to kind of feel the lower portion of my glute. I'm going to push the cable back with my heel and flare my toe a little bit. So as I'm pushing back, I'm actually flaring my toe out. I don't want to flare it out totally to the side. It's just like a 45-degree twist. And when you do that, you'll feel the lower portion of the glute contract. And once I feel that contract, I don't want to raise any higher. If you notice, this is getting basically in line with my body. I'm not trying to raise any higher than that because that starts to activate my upper glute and my lower back. So if you ever do this and you have lower back pain, it's probably because you're raising too high. If you do this and you're worried about overdeveloping your upper glute, again, just don't raise too high. You want to raise to where the leg is in line with the rest of the body and you feel that lower glute contract. I'm going to let the weight pull me forward to where I can still maintain neutral hip position. So I don't want to let the weight tuck me under like this. So I want to maintain neutral hip position and then push back and flare that toe a little bit. So usually for this, I'll do between 10 to 20 reps, and I'll get that pause at the peak contraction to make sure I can feel that lower glute doing the work. Now, in my workouts, to make sure that we don't use too much weight on this movement, we tend to do this at the end of a workout, or we pair it with another exercise. One of my favorite things to pair it with is a dumbbell or barbell RDL, where we do not lock out at the top. So that would be like a dumbbell RDL, where I get a good stretch at the bottom and I squeeze my glutes, but I would stop where my shoulders are still in front of my hips. Again, that is pinpointing that lower portion of the glute. And then I would stretch back down, up and squeeze, stretch back down, up and squeeze. If you pair a kickback with a movement like that, it increases your mind-muscle connection, the sensitivity of that lower glute, and that way you can feel that better during the bigger movement. So if you do cable kickbacks, try this technique. You're going to use the machine for your stability. You're going to have a slight forward tilt. And when you kick back, you want to kick back and flare the toe a little bit, and then stop when your leg is in line with the rest of the body. Give these tips a try. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching.